spelling, and for pickling, preserving, and cookery none could excel her. She prided herself much also upon being an excellent contriver in housekeeping. Yet I could never find that we grew richer with all her contrivances. However, we loved each other tenderly, and our fondness increased with age. There was, in fact, nothing that could make us angry with the world or each other. We had an elegant house situated in a fine country and a good neighbourhood. The year was spent in moral or rural amusements, in visiting our rich neighbours, or relieving such as were poor. We had no revolutions to fear, nor fatigues to undergo. All our adventures were by the fireside, and all our migrations from the blue bed to the brown. As we lived near the road, we often had the traveller or stranger come to taste our gooseberry wine, for which we had great reputation, and I profess with the veracity of an historian that I never knew one of them find fault with it. Our cousins, too, even to the 40th remove, all remembered their affinity without any help from the herald's office, and came very frequently to see us. Some of them did us no great honour by these claims of kindred, for, literally speaking, we had the blind, the maimed, and the halt amongst the number. However, my wife always insisted that, as they were the same flesh and blood with us, they should sit with us at the same table. So that, if we had not very rich, we generally had very happy friends about us. For this remark will hold good through life, that the poorer the guest, the better pleased he ever is with being treated. And as some men gaze with admiration at the colours of a tulip, and others are smitten with the wing of a butterfly, so I was by nature an admirer of happy human faces. However, when any one of our relations was found to be a person of very bad character, a troublesome guest, or one we desired to get rid of, upon his leaving my house for the first time, I ever took care to lend him a riding coat, or a pair of boots, or sometimes an horse of small value, and I always had the satisfaction of finding he never came back to return them. By this the house was cleared of such as we didn't like, but never was the family of Wakefield known to turn the traveller or the poor dependent out of doors. Thus we lived several years in a state of much happiness, not but that we sometimes had those little rubs which Providence sends to enhance the value of its other favours. My orchard was often robbed by schoolboys, and my wife's custards plundered by the cats or the children. The squire would sometimes fall asleep in the most pathetic parts of my sermon, or his lady return my wife's civilities at church with a mutilated curtsy. But we soon got over the uneasiness caused by such accidents, and usually in 3 or 4 days we began to wonder how they vexed us. My children, the offspring of temperance, as they were educated without softness, so they were at once well-formed and healthy. My sons hardy and active, my daughters dutiful and blooming. When I stood in the midst of the little circle which promised to be the supports of my declining age, I couldn't avoid repeating the famous story of Count Abensberg, who, in Henry II's progress through Germany, when other courtiers came with their treasures, brought his 32 children, and presented them to his sovereign as the most valuable offering he had to bestow. In this manner, though I had but 6, I considered them as a very valuable present made to my country, and consequently looked upon it as my debtor. Our eldest son was named George, after his uncle, who left us £10,000. Our second child, a girl, I intended to call after her aunt Grisel, but my wife, who during her pregnancy had been reading romances, insisted upon her being called Olivia. In less than another year we had a daughter again, and now I was determined that Grisel should be her name.